How's it going? It's another Sunday night chat. Did you ever think it would happen again? Ever again? Woo! It is chilly. Outside it might not be that bad. I didn't bother looking at the temperature. I was just out there running some errands. But it was probably in like the 40s in my apartment this morning. And then I don't think it got above 50 degrees or so all morning in here. I was freezing. I had my sweatshirt on, my boxers. I was like, I gotta move. I got on my mini trampoline. I did some pull-ups. Actually, I need to really work out. I have not been doing that, but I will. I'm kind of motivated. Getting out of town for a couple days was good for me. We'll talk about that. But the first thing we're going to talk about is the Mike Tyson Jake Paul fight. I have not listened to or watched anything else on it. I don't have anybody else's opinion in my head, so what you're going to get is my own thoughts. First, I'm going to start off with Netflix. What the Netflix? I mean, that was horrible. That was a horrible production. Netflix. There's a learning curve there. It was a live sports event. Probably millions of people, millions probably, tuned into that. And okay, growing pains there, I suppose. I'm late to Netflix personally. I've only had it. It's definitely been less than 2 years, maybe a year and a half, something like that. I'm not super. I've mentioned this before. I've kind of hammered Netflix a little bit because I've pretty much watched everything I want to watch, and then you just go through this period where you're cycling through crap you don't want to watch. There's a lot of crap there I'm not interested in. There's some new stuff that's come in that I've been catching that's been okay. I watched a movie last night called The Sisters Brothers with John C. Reilly and Joaquin Phoenix and Jake Gyllenhaal. Pretty good Western, actually. Different type of movie. I liked it. That was actually pretty well done. I thought that was pretty good. At any rate, Netflix screwed the pooch on that production. I had to reset Netflix at least 6 times during that whole thing, right? Because I had it on from the start. That sucked. I didn't care too much about the preliminary fights. I did watch the girl fight. That was brutal. It was amazing. The thing with the headbutts with the girl fight, Roy Jones Jr. kept saying it. It's the truth. Southpaw versus Standard, which is a right-hander, they're going to clash heads. That's always happened. It's always happened. I was an avid boxing fan for years. That's why I had HBO back in the day. It was so that I could watch boxing. When HBO got rid of the boxing, and on top of all the bullshit that they were programming into their shows, all the stupid crap, all the woke, all the crap we just rebelled against a couple weeks ago. I was able to say, screw HBO, I'm getting rid of it. It wasn't doing anything for me other than aggravating me, right? Which is kind of starting to happen with the Netflix, but there's more variety with the Netflix, And their programming, when I say programming, if you guys aren't aware of it, Netflix makes a lot of their own movies. It's pretty wild, man. I mean, it's a lot of your favorite stars are the cool people, the funny people, the people who aren't the wokesters are making films for Netflix. It's pretty good. So it's not the same thing as the HBO issue. At any rate, that was horrible, that production. And the fact it was pixelated the whole time. What I mean by that is I could see the screen, but it never came in focus, never came in HD. It was worse, then a little bit better, then worse. It was no fun to watch. Kept freezing up, as I mentioned. That was bullshit, man. So I'm glad it was free on Netflix. I mean, we're paying for Netflix. It's like $20 a month or something. It's not the end of the world, but they need to get better at that. Because I saw an ad on Netflix. I guess they're going to be doing NFL next. Well, newsflash, Netflix. People are not going to watch your NFL coverage if the screen's freezing up and they got to keep restarting Netflix. So somebody at Netflix or somebody who knows somebody at Netflix, send them the beginning of this video so they know. That was bullshit. I knew it couldn't have been just me, so I went on Facebook after the fight and I saw everybody complaining about it. Okay. something was up there, man, with that Jake Paul Tyson fight. I watched probably every bit of footage I could find on Mike Tyson training leading up to that fight. Now, before I'd seen any of that, when it was first being announced and I saw Mike talking in other videos, and I'll get into the Mike Tyson thing in general because I'm the same age as Tyson, right? So I watched it his whole career coming up, went to the fights. Well, back in the day, you would get a fight ticket and you'd go to an arena atmosphere with a giant screen and watch the fight that way. It wasn't like I was going to the fights in person. But we used to go to the Tyson fights and see that, and that was cool. And it was hard with Tyson, right? Because I think we all loved the guy coming up when he was with Cus D'Amato. And then when Cus died and we saw what happened to Tyson with the people he surrounded himself with, and, this entourage crap that happened with him and getting caught up in that world. You know what we're talking about here. That world of those kinds of people that were around him and making him feel like he's got to be this guy, the Islam thing and everything else, whatever. Going to prison, the rape charges, that was a weird moment in time because he had exhibited enough piss poor behavior and stupid behavior, really, in a way where part of you could almost believe that he could have done it. On the other hand, those of us who had issues with women in our lives, and this Robin Quivers person, or the hell her name, Givens, I don't remember what the hell her name was, but there was an air about her. There was something wrong with her, pretty obvious. Now looking back on it, I've gone out with plenty of actresses. I tend to avoid them. Can't believe anything they say, right? So who the hell knows? She clearly has some personality disorders. I mean, where is she now, right? And look where he is. So time usually works that crap out. Now you could jump to the thing in the future with the Me Too movement, right? Which when that happened, I was talking about it. I did videos on it here. I had guys sending me private messages. I was telling their stories and my stories. It was the dumbest thing ever because, and no offense, women, most women know that most women are batshit crazy. Even women don't like women. We're all on the same page there. you know. Not making this shit up. I'm not being anti-woman or overly machismo or any of the other derogatory terms that some moron wants to use because they don't want to admit what the truth is. You can't trust them. Sorry, girls. You know who you can trust? The good ones. You want to know what the problem with the good ones is? They're already with somebody else. They already got the fella. That guy's got her. That bitch is locked down. He's making her happy. She's making him happy. They got a good... I know some of you. A lot of you that are here. I've met quite a few of you already. Those of you I know from my own personal life going way back. I know you guys got a good thing. You're so lucky. You should be counting your lucky stars. But every time I mention on here about how I'm going to have a girlfriend or something, or I'm thinking about it, I can't tell you how many of my friends tell me to forget about it. Like, don't even think about it. You'd be wasting your time. You're going to ruin your life. Keep it like it is. You're happy. You got no frustrations. It's crazy, man. So Tyson got through all that. Then he gets into the acting world and everything. And I was there for his last fight. I was at an event. That was actually the last night I was a professional bartender at Yankee Doodles. I had already quit there, but they called me back because the downstairs section, they needed some extra bartenders for the fight. So I was tending bar the night he bit Holyfield's ear. That was a big friggin' deal, man. That was a big deal. The whole bar, it was a big place. Everybody was like, holy crap. Watched it all happen. And then he turned this corner and he got humble, and you could look at it like some of it could be an act, I suppose. He decided he had to change his career. He went kind of bankrupt there, I believe, for a while. He had to get money coming back in. He was a scary individual. So I know from Hollywood, because I've been told by people that Hollywood's afraid of me. I have an old Navy SEAL friend of mine I mentioned him here before. He's a stuntman now and all that. And he told me years ago that that's what he had heard. People are afraid. I got a friend. He's a director. He's in Georgia now, and we did projects together out here. He said it. He's like, Mike, people are afraid that you might crack them one, because I get a little. We've been through this already. I'm not going to go smacking somebody for no reason. But a lot of those people in that world, they're control freaks, egomaniacs, narcissists. They think they can get away with belittling people and all that. And I think they sized me up correctly, which is that guy ain't going to take my shit. If I say the wrong thing to that guy, he might crack me one. So that is kind of accurate. It's not 100%. I'm not going to go smacking people around, especially at my age now. But I know that I have that air about me. And I know that I've always had that presence and that, for lack of a better term, I'm not trying to talk myself up here, but that power with people. Like I can just give you that thing and and it's off-putting to some people, and it frightens people that have personality disorders that like to take advantage of weaker people. I'm not a weak person. At any rate, I watched Tyson go through this progression and become a more humble person. Be honest, he did his one-man show. He's done the work to make himself a better person. I paid enough attention to him to now where I believe it. But he reminds me of me. I had to become a better person too, a nicer person. But there's still that gear, that little thing, that voice sometimes in the back of my head. That guy's still in there, You have to overcome that and be the better version of yourself. At any rate, I watched all that happen. As a matter of fact, my buddy Thad, who's a director in Georgia, did a project with Tyson. We'll probably never see it. He did a project with Mike Tyson down in Colombia, I think it was. Tyson went down there to do ayahuasca and maybe some other psychotropic drugs to, find himself and all that good stuff. Ayahuasca is great for that. I'd like to do it myself. I don't think I need it. I'm pretty advanced mentally with knowing who I am and what's going on, but I'd like to do it for the experience. And I keep dabbling. I've mentioned this before, and it just doesn't affect me. It's a weird thing. We'll get to that another time. But Dad's got pictures of him and Mike Tyson in Colombia. And my buddy Dad, if you're watching this, man, give me a call. He's awesome. One of the most gracious, gregarious, fun, humble guys. Just can do, happy-go-lucky, great smile, good-looking guy. He ended up hooking back up with his college sweetheart. They got a great life together. Just a great human being. Everybody loves Thad. And so it wasn't surprising to see these pictures of him and Tyson together, because I'm sure, Thad's been friends with a lot of famous people. Thad worked on, I'll give you a little, well, I'm going to get to the Tyson fight. I'm going to get there. You guys know what I'm doing. I'm doing the weave. I am dehydrated still from drinking the other day. Thad worked with Tony Danza on the Tony Danza show for a while. And just a funny story. I've been an assassin since I was a kid. Like, people have paid me to kill shit. I'm mostly talking about animals. That are nuisance animals. I know there's a bunch of PETA types here. Sorry, but that's just how it is, man. There's some animals that are a thing. And some of this, it's hard to talk about with people because they have a real hard time with it. I worked on a job site years ago where we had a building at a marina, and they used to build sailboats. So we had this super high ceiling, and we were staining siding in there. Problem was, there could be 20 or 30 pigeons up there in the rafters that never left, and they just shit all over everything. So they'd shit all over your work. So the boss would just say, go kill pigeons. So I got paid to kill. So I'd shoot 30 friggin' pigeons. I'd fill up the wheelbarrow, wheel into the bay, dump them into the bay, and then the crabs ate that. So it was like this. The critters in the water ate everything you dump in there. So it was like you actually were doing those critters a favor with the carcasses of these critters. It sounds horrible. Sorry, but that's just life. And I did a lot of that, even as a little kid in the neighborhood in Patterson with squirrels that would get in the eaves of houses. you could call an exterminator and spend all that money, or you can go to the kid down the street and give him a couple dollars, be like, hey, pick that thing off the next time you see it. I'd be like, okay, pow, it's gone. I think it was awesome. Crazy life. So Dad was working on that show, and they had a problem with, I guess I could say this now because it's been decades, but they had a problem with pigeons on the soundstage. They couldn't get out of there. The soundstages, they're freaking huge, man. Multiple stories inside. It's like a giant, they could build all these crazy sets in these sound stages. And it was, the pigeons would make that sound that they make. I can't do it. My lips are too dry. Whatever the fuck they do. And it would wreck the sound takes. So it was making the days last longer. They had to get rid of these pigeons. So Thad called me up, asked me if I'd go out there and do it. It probably gave me a couple $100. I don't remember. So yeah, like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, we get into the sound stage, go up into the thing. And the deal is, I was like, I'll kill him. You got to clean up the mess. He's like, no problem. It's like 2 pigeons. Anyhow, I don't know why I'm telling you all this. The point is I know what Tyson did that you guys probably will never see because I don't think it'll ever air on television, but he did that. He went down to Colombia, did the ayahuasca and everything else. My point here is I feel like I've got a pretty good take on Tyson's, what's going on in his brain and what he was doing to work on himself. And you could hear it in his interviews, So the Jake Paul thing comes along, and you can understand it on the level of finance. I don't remember what they both got paid, but they both made millions of dollars to do that. And I know how I feel at my age. And I truly think that if I had some fight to do against somebody, and if I had the time to train for it, I'd be able to do it. Because I'm still light on my feet. I can jump around, move. I know what I'm doing. You guys might have seen me work out in a heavy bag when I was in Arizona months ago. I had my heavy bag hanging here in my apartment for decades, and I know what my range is, and I'm good at combinations and head movement, all that stuff. So I still feel it, and I'm still fast. And so I was good. I felt good about him. The difference is he's more beat up than I am because he put himself through that grinder of beating his body up for decades to be in shape, to do all those things. He also let himself get way, way, way out of shape and then got back into shape at this age. And he's also carrying around way more weight. I think he was like 228 pounds or something for that. He does not need to be that heavy. If they could have both come in at closer to 200 pounds, or less, I think it would have been better on both of them for the fight. Now, here's the thing that gets me. This is what we're finally getting to the gist of it. I forgot to look at my watch here. I don't know how long I've been talking. So, when I watched his regime and the videos I saw of him training, he seemed like he was moving very well. He seemed very light on his feet. He was doing his hop head movement to make the guy miss, hop to the side, body shot, uppercut, cross. But he was moving his body in a way where I thought, this guy's okay. I think he's going to be okay. And then the night of the fight, when he was coming out, did you see it? It looked to me like he stumbled a little bit coming out of the gate, like walking down to the ring. And then when I saw him in the ring, it looked like he had no legs. I mean, it seemed like I started thinking paranoia, like, did somebody put something in his drink? That was my thought. My thought was, did he ingest something that is slowing him down a little bit? His hand speed was actually pretty good, I thought. So I that was my first thought. Something is not right there. He's not moving the way I saw him moving. And if you watch his training, and they had a 3-part series that I watched leading up to the fight, where he was doing 3 minutes plus of hardcore moving, cardio, and everything else. I know if I was training, I would be doing 6 minutes of nonstop. I would be doing double of everything. So that when I got in there, 3 minutes, boom. And they were only 2-minute rounds. So it was very strange. Now, obviously Tyson's plan too, because he always was a counterpuncher. That was the thing. So getting away from any conspiracy theory stuff, like was it a fixed fight? Was it a choreographed fight? I haven't watched anybody else's opinion, but I've seen some videos pop up on YouTube where there's just like a title or something. So I'm kind of, I understand, I get the gist of what some people are kind of mentioning and talking about, but I didn't watch any of it because I wanted to give you guys my own opinion of it without anybody else's ideas rolling through my brain. Barring the conspiratorial theories, the conspiracy theory ideas here, setup, fake fight for the money, all of that. If you don't want to accept any of that and you just look at it as a pure honest fight, Paul did the right thing by keeping his distance. And I don't know anything about Jake Paul. I didn't watch any of his other fights. I don't care about the guy. When I watched interviews with him, when I saw them, their matchups where they met for media and he was being kind of a punk and trying to talk shit where he's psyching himself up, whatever, all fighters do that. You can't hold it against them. When I watched the 3-part series leading up to it, or any other interview I ever saw with him where he might be speaking for a couple minutes, I could see he's not a bad guy. And I understand now where he came from as a kid. I didn't know his history being like a YouTuber. I think he did prank stuff when he was young and everything else. You got to give the guy credit coming from nowhere and deciding to do this. Obviously, he's not like a high quality pro boxer, professional, but he can fight enough, I feel like if I was his age right now, with what I knew at the time I knew it at that age, and if I was working out to fight, I think I could do what he's doing. Honestly, I know that sounds like I'm a bunch of guys. You're full of crap. You didn't know me back then. I was pretty good. I could still hold my own. So, there's no personality issues for me. I don't have a dog in this hunt, so to speak. But he did the right thing. He kept his distance. His range, he had a longer reach. He was using his maximum effective range, and he never fought Tyson's fight. So that's just how it is. But Tyson was just spinning, pivoting, planting his feet, staying in one spot for the most part. And it was almost like a waste of time to watch it. And it's kind of too bad. It was kind of sad. But I'm glad it went the way that it did, in a way. Like, nobody got hurt. If anybody was going to get knocked out, I think we all just wanted to see Jake Paul get knocked out. Mainly for guys my age, just want to see an old guy still be able to do it. Tyson caught Jake a couple times, enough. There's no doubt that Paul felt that, which just is going to. He's not stupid. The thing about boxing is, you can't be dumb. You're playing chess while you are in physical hand-to-hand combat with another human being. So you have to feel what they got. At some point, you almost have to let yourself feel their power, so you know what you're dealing with. You got to understand their movements. You got to fake them a couple times, do some feints to know what their reactions are. You've got to figure out their distance, figure out where their power is coming from. You're going to, a lot of this you could do just by watching tape. But when you're in the ring, when you're toe to toe with someone, I've done a lot of sparring with people, mostly martial arts. That's how you get to feel with somebody, and you can set them up. You're setting them up. That's what you have to do. And in the boxing ring, the way the rules are and everything, you're setting yourself up for a round or 2 or 3 rounds in advance if you're working them right. Wasn't a lot of body work in that fight either. So, I don't know. It was interesting. I'll now probably watch a couple videos to hear what other people think on it. But, it was a fun thing for us as humans. It's a funny thing. This is something I think about a lot when it comes to sports. I don't like watching sports. I did it for years. It's a waste of time. I'm going to tell you right now. As a scenario, dying and going to heaven, right? Which is not something I necessarily believe in. I don't think we ever really die. I think you're released when the body dies. You go off to the next thing. But just for the sake of this, what I'm about to say, imagine you go to the pearly gates. You think there's going to be somewhere there asking you before you get into heaven about your sports knowledge? You know what I'm saying? Like, who won the 1962 World Series or whatever? I mean, like, nobody gives a shit, man. Yet, there are millions of people walking around right now that know so much about sports. They know so much about the history of the game and all these people. And a lot of these people never even played, but they know have all this information. And every week they do this thing and they pay attention to it. And it's unimportant. It doesn't mean anything. Like your life is you, your life, your experiences, your wife, your kids, your family. That's what you should be focused on and making your life better. It's a judgment call. I'm not telling you what to be doing. I'm just saying. It's weird to me that people have that much of their brain taken up with sports information. It doesn't mean a damn thing. It doesn't mean anything. It's weird to me. But what I do understand is the nature of humanity. People like going to church because there's a bunch of people in there and they sing the same, they pray, they do these things, and they feel the energy from all the other souls in the room. It's the same thing we do with sports. And it's, as human beings, we like being part of a group sharing an emotion, right? We feed on that. I don't. I'm a loner. I stay home by myself all the time. I go in the woods. I want to be alone. But most people feel more comfortable in group settings sharing an emotion. That's why the world wrestling, like I learned a lot watching on Netflix. There was a series, mini series on Ed McMahon. Ed McMahon? Where the hell? McMahon, the guy, the wrestling guy. Vince McMahon. I didn't know that whole story. I remember him. I watched wrestling, it would have been late 80s. 87, 88, 89, in that range. Ric Flair, the Ultimate Warrior, the Road Warrior tag team guys, that Andre the Giant. That was kind of the era. I watched it for a few years because my buddy was into it. It was kind of fun for us. We knew it was scripted and everything, but it was fun to just get caught up in that a little bit. It didn't last long because I had more important things to do with my time. But I understand it. So that's why people are watching sports. And now, they really pull you in now with all the behind the scenes drama and what's going on. Women who watch sports are more rabid than the men. In a way, I wonder if, because when I was a kid and you watched sports, you watched the game and that was fun. You had your team. Your family was there. It was holidays, or it was on the weekend. Maybe a buddy came over with your dad or something. That was it. You didn't necessarily know all the inner workings of what was going on with that team. Or you read the sports pages, I guess, in the papers, there was some information there. But, you didn't know all the personal stuff and the relationships and the marriages, the families, the things that were going on. Like, now they share all that stuff to get you more and more invested. And that is wrestling. That's all wrestling is a soap opera with violence and sex. That's why soap operas do so well. My mom, so many people locked into soap operas. Life got so easy. That's why all this crap exists. In the old days before television, you had to live. Life was harder. There was no indoor plumbing or electricity or anything. You had to go out and get your food, Even when there was civilization, you were interacting with people. There was already a natural drama going on around. You had to interact with other people, like in your community and whatnot. So there was always stuff going on. Now, you can work from home. If you want, you never have to go out. But as a human being, you still have that desire and need to be. You know what it was, too? I think a big part of it is there was a time before civilization where we were out there, hunter-gatherers and nomadic clans running around, and life was naturally scary. There were animals out there that would kill you. Life would kill you. Another human could kill you easily, and that stuff was happening all of the time. I had this conversation, and I'm not ragging on the natives, but there's this Zinn character that did all this revisionist history. Matt Damon's a big fan of this asshole. Makes it sound like the natives here on the continent before Whitey came over, the Europeans, were apparently they were just all, vegetarian, tree hugging, kumbaya, loving people, at one with nature, loving their neighbor, no money, no concept thing, just living and moving with the climate and the food. And, they were talking to the bears and the deer, and everything smelled like roses. Hey, back then, when you heard the term savages being used, it wasn't because they were trying to disparage them because they were, Indians. It's because they were fucking savages, man. Read about it sometime. And long before we got here, they were doing it to each other. The way that they would torture one another is fucking scary, man. Horrible things. Skinning people alive. They would torture you to the point where you eventually could die of shock, but they try to keep you alive. And the big thing with them was if they captured you and killed your wife, and I've read this account so many times, many accounts like it. They'll kill and rape your wife, and kill her in front of you, kill your kids. Then they'll take you and they start torturing you and doing things. If you cry out or beg for something, they're going to torture you and they'll cut your eyelids off. They'll do all these things. They'll bury you into the ground and it's just to light you on. The shit that they did is so scary and horrendous. But when they started doing it, if you just kind of looked at them tough and you didn't make any sound, they kept you alive. And then they turn you into a slave, and then you'd become one of them. Life went on. So it's a very interesting situation there. But they were fucking savages, right? I mean, they were down south. They were cutting the hearts out of people while they were still alive, man. Come on. So, and enslaving people. Slavery has existed all over the world, everywhere. Every color of person did it to one another, did it to their own people forever. Forever. It's not something Whitey invented, all right? So my point there is, for as long as humans have been around, it's only been this little tiny bit that we've had this modicum of safety with civilization, where for the most part, you're pretty safe. There's always dangerous people and criminals and people break into your house and kill you and do all kinds of that crazy shit. You got to be aware of that. That's why we have the Second Amendment in this country. One of the two reasons. The other reason is keep a tyrannical government at bay. But you have it for the self-defense too. But overall, pretty safe. Pretty safe. Safest time to ever live. As crazy as that might sound to you, that's accurate. But for the overwhelming majority of time when people were alive here on this planet, it was scary, and you would get a natural adrenaline rush, and that's built into your DNA. It's in your brain to deal with that and have to deal with it and need it in a way. It's like you need the shock to your system to grow in a way. It's like a fire. There are some trees, like pines. The pine cones need to be exposed to extreme heat to open for the seeds to come out and so they can germinate and grow new trees. We're no different. And they know that. And that's the reason why so much of the entertainment out there is violent and sex and scary, because that used to be part of our everyday life, and now it's not anymore. So we kind of need that in a way. So that's that whole thing. I have no idea how long I've been talking. What else did I want to talk about? Well, I'll talk about a few things that happened. There was something I want to talk about. I can't remember. Hopefully it'll come to me. But I'll get back to the camping trip I did, that couple nights there with those old strippers I was hanging out with. It was funny. Do you guys know who Kennedy is? She has a show on Fox News. She's often a guest on Gutfeld. But if you don't know her from that, you know her from MTV. She was on MTV, a VJ, for years. Got the thick glasses, very smart. She used to live with these two strippers. And the one older one kept calling her Virgin Kennedy. And I didn't get the story of why they called her Virgin Kennedy. I think maybe she was kind of straight-laced. But apparently she was doing meth and all kinds of crazy drugs at that time when she was living with them in their house back in the day. I thought that was wild. I'll have to get more stories about that at some point for you. That was pretty wild. Now, I did a video, you've seen it, some of you, on the camping trip up there at the Kern River at that, that campground was one step up from a rest stop on the side of a highway. Really, that's basically what it was. And they had showers there and they had camp spots, but you could just drive off this little area, come in there and have it. It wasn't a remote camping spot like you've seen me do before. Excuse me. So we were there And my friend Kurgi had seen this person walking around that her spy. I trust her spidey senses. She's been through a lot. She has been through. I'm trying to get. She'll never be comfortable, I don't think, being on screen. If you guys heard her stories, it's unbelievable. Her life is totally insane, unbelievable, and crazy. And a lot of the people who came in and out of her life are people you know, famous people. And a lot of effed up stuff happened to her. And I don't want to reveal too much of it. Maybe I'll get her comfortable enough one day to sit down with her, get her in a good mood where she could tell some of these stories. Um, the point is like she's been through enough to where if she says, "Hey, do you notice that?" I'm going to listen to her. Now, she said there was some guy walking around. Now, I didn't see it. I think I saw it for a second. But we had this, there was a guy, it's crazy. She says he was wearing all black and he'd walked outskirted our camp the first night and the second night in the dark with no light or anything. Later, there was a light by him down the way, she said. And then, but he'd come by during the daytime too, and I wasn't there at the time. And the first night we were camping, some guy came up and started trying to talk to us like he wanted to be invited in. He was behind me. I never turned to look at him. But Kurgi's energy put him off. Like she kind of shut him down from that. And I don't know if it was the same guy, but it could have been part of it. And my thinking is, and I said it to him, so I'm not worried. I don't care if this guy's got a knife and he freaks out. I will take him down. Don't worry about it. I will fucking shoot him in the face. So I feel safe no matter where I'm at. And the girls felt safe because I was there. And again, I didn't really see the guy. I think I was drunk, but I do think maybe I saw him walk a little bit at a distance for a short moment. But I might be imagining that because now it's a thing in my mind because this story gets better. Because I got back, I posted my video, and then that later that day after everybody posted the video, she left me a message saying, "You're not going to believe what happened." So I just talked to her, and the cops showed up and arrested the guy. He had been there with another group of people like a week before, created a bunch of trouble, never left, and he apparently was casing places and stealing stuff. We think, or they think, he's the guy that set the car on fire. If you guys remember, there's a short I did. It's a car fire at the Kern River. They think he's the guy who actually set the thing on fire, and that was right after I got there. He followed two women to the bathrooms. He followed one of the women into the stall. She was able to get away from him, and that was after I left. And that's when they called the cops, and they showed up and he got arrested. So obviously he didn't come in our camp and start any shit because I was there. Not that he knows I'm some badass, but I'm a deterrent. And if he was listening to our conversation, he would have known not to come into that camp. Point there is that those sorts of this can happen in any campground, but usually any kind of camping that's within an hour or so of any populated area, it's a lot easier for sketchy shit to go down there. And so if there's predators, psychos, sex addicts, there's a lot of cruising that goes on, in places like that. I don't know if I haven't seen it because I don't drive up there anymore, but I used to drive up to the observatory a lot, that road, and park, and then I'd hike that peak, or I used to run that peak that overlooks the observatory, and then come back down. And you come down that mountain, there's guys that are parked on these little turnouts right here in Griffith Park. There's a thing there with the fellas. They're out there and they're looking at you and smiling when you drive by and waving and winking. The guys are going up there to get blowjobs, man. That shit's happening. And so stuff like that happens in these areas too. So just another reason to not go to a spot like that. Or if you do, definitely don't go alone, especially if you're a woman, just to be on the safe side. Your personal safety is a big deal. You should be considering that. And you should always consider having some sort of weapon on you, knowing how to use it, and understanding that mindset. And just to get into that for a little bit here, it kind of ties in with the boxing and everything. You could be the most peaceful person in the world, never had a physical altercation, never been in a fight, nothing bad's ever happened to you. So you might think, I don't need to think about those things. I don't want to think about it. It's not a nice thing to think about. Your brain is a computer. If the information is not in there and you need to act physically in a way with another human being to save your own ass, and that information is not in there, you are screwed. You're screwed. So I'm recommending to you to learn. Like, learn some basic self-defense. You can watch videos and grasp it, because the idea is it just needs to be in your brain. And then from time to time, you should be running scenarios in your own brain. What if scenarios? What if? What if? What if somebody steps to me in a scary, violent manner? What am I going to do? Fingers right to the eyeballs. Bam! And run away. You know, shot to the throat. Shot to the throat. Run away. You know what I mean? You got to think about stuff like that. And if you're going to have a weapon, you got to practice on using it too. And you also have to have the mindset before anything happens where you've practiced with that thing in the mindset of you're willing to harm somebody else in the defense of your own life. You just have to do that. You have to do it. If you don't do it, look, maybe nothing will happen. Maybe you'll live your whole life, total peace, never have any violence, never experience it personally. I hope that you get to have that life. That has not been my experience. Going all the way back to I was a little kid, violence has always been a part of my life. Either it was perpetrated on me or I was using it to defend myself. So I'm just saying. Gosh, what was the other thing I wanted to talk about? Well, I will say this real quick, just because this is a vlog about the life. It doesn't always have to stay on one topic here. How crazy would that be if I just did a video where I just kept it at one topic? You guys wouldn't recognize me anymore. You'd be bored out of your friggin' minds. What's he doing? What's he doing? He's not taking me on a mental journey. Yesterday I spent half the day at the watch shop, the Majestic watch place. We moved the safe and I helped them move a bunch of other stuff. They moved up to the 3rd floor. So I'll go in there with my camera this week and I'll film the building, walking up, walking in, getting the elevator and going into the new office. It'll be fun. Maybe this will be a short one for you today because I don't feel like I have anything else to say. As soon as I stop talking, I'll be like, oh crap, I should have mentioned that. But I think this is enough. We'll keep this short today. I got to get on. I'm still talking. I got to get on with my life now this week, get back to trying to make some money. And I got some more phone calls to make here today, catch up with some people. And I'll keep you guys apprised of the situation, what is happening in my life. It seems like people care for some reason. Some of you probably care more than I do. And yeah, it's interesting. I appreciate the suggestions. When I was in the van talking about the things I want to do with the van interior, the reason it is what it is, and it's as kind of stark as it is and simple, is because it's my only vehicle. It's not just a camper van. Some of you guys are trying to build a box, do this, do that. No, it has to serve multiple purposes, people. Like right now, if I take the deck out, which is 2 pieces and cushions, and take the stuff out from under it, I've got a cargo van. Put whatever I want in there. So I need it to remain modular. And I do think about sleeping north-south and adding those panels to it. And I was talking about that in that last video. If I was to do that, set the interior of the van up in a way where I was sleeping north-south and it would have to be a setup each time, I would consider on the passenger side, there's that slider door, and from the slider door opening to the rear of the vehicle, there's a section, it's probably about this long. I would make that a deeper cabinet, and I could, if you were looking at it from the rear, I'd still have you over 4 feet at the bottom to still slide 4x8 sheets, but then it would step up and bump out and go up. I was considering that, not sure. But the one thing I was thinking over the last couple days is, because I reconfigured things, I don't have the gas cans in the big box anymore. I put something else in there. I'm going to put at least 1 gas can under the vehicle. Somebody was saying, don't do that, do this. I'm not putting the whole purpose with 4x4 and not having your spare underneath the vehicle, for those of you that don't understand it, is when you're out in the middle of nowhere and you're off road and all of a sudden you need your spare, sometimes you can't get underneath your vehicle. You could be in the mud, in the dirt. You could be stuck somewhere. You don't want to have to go underneath that vehicle and try to get your spare out. That's why everybody mounts the spare on the back of the vehicle. The idea of putting your extra gas can under the vehicle is also to get more weight under the chassis, because vans typically, for a lot of people, if you're not doing your weight distribution properly, can be too top heavy. If you're too top heavy and you go off camber, boom, you roll your van over on its side. A lot of you aren't thinking about that. I don't want a bunch of weight on the roof of my vehicle. That's why I don't use the box anymore. That's why there's nothing up there. That deck is up there, that's it. So the idea of using underneath the body of the vehicle to store some stuff is smart, in my opinion, because it gets weight under there, which keeps your center of gravity lower. I'm smarter than I look. Don't let the tattoos fool you. But what I'm thinking is, underneath the deck, I'm kind of thinking what I might do. I just got to think it out, because there's that space I won't be able to get to anymore. I am thinking about making a box between the fridge and the passenger side. There's a good space there. I'm thinking about making a box that has some pull-out drawers that only goes to about half the depth of the deck above it, that can mount in there hard. Either I reach in and I screw it to the box that's built into the van that's holding the deck up and hold that in place, or I figure out a clip system, but probably put some screws or through bolts or something that's easy with wing nuts or something. I can reach in and undo it so that it's locked down there and it can't move. And then where the fridge is, this is the hard part in a way, because I have to be able to take that box out and take the fridge out and still slide 4x8 material in there. So what I'm thinking is, I think I just figured it out in my head. Okay, here's what I'll do, is I'll build the box. It'll kind of be a kitchen box, which will make my life so much better. A couple drawers, put everything I need in there. Don't have to go looking for it. I'll have a drawer slide on that box. And then on the other side, next to the cabinet that's built in, I'll take a plywood panel that I could zip in. I'll figure this out. And then put a drawer slide on that, and then have the fridge on a slide. So I'm not always picking it up, setting it on the bumper. So I think that's what will make the most sense. And all I'll have to do then to undo things is take out the fridge, pull out the slide, right? Move that from the slides, take the bolts out for this box, take the box, put it up on the deck, put the fridge up on the deck, take this panel out with this slide, slide it up there. I can put 4x8 material underneath there. So it's still modular that way. That's probably just what's going to happen. So I just got to do that. And Kirgy just asked me to build her a box for something too. So all that's probably likely what's going to go down. Right now I have to focus on pulling in some coin. So there was somebody here. You were sending me emails. I haven't heard back from you. I'll try to reach out to you. A guy was pretty crazy. I think he's in southern Nevada. He's got a gold mine, a mining claim, and he wanted me to go out there and possibly build him a structure to live in. It would be an off-grid build. So if we could come to terms on that, I will go do that. I would love to do that. That's what I built the van for. So I need a good project. I have some things to do for the Johnsons, the people whose house I have my garage workshop at. Again, I have something to do over at Kirgy's place, but I've got to lock myself down a good gig that's going to pull in some coin for a little while. I have to start putting the feelers out again. I basically took a vacation the whole month of October, and now I'm back of the mindset, okay, it's time to get back to work here. Plus I got family that needs my help all the time. I'd like to help them if I can, but I've been helping, but it's been hurting me to do so. I don't know that they understand that so well. At any rate, that's going to be it for now. Thanks for being here. You're all caught up. Up until right now, which is the 17th of November, you're caught up. I think, Be good to one another. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope this has been under an hour for you. And, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Hit the week running, It's we got the holidays coming up now. It's going to be an interesting time this year. It's pretty cool. Oh, I remember what I want to talk about. We're not ending. I'm not done talking. Crap. I should have gone into this right away. I just wanted to quickly bring up the Trump appointees. Yes. Yes. The left is so scared right now. I mean, here's the crazy thing. If you look at Gabbard, Tulsi Gabbard, if you look at Robert Kennedy Jr., Elon Musk, um, those were all Democrats that he got onto his side. I mean, they're the best of the best, man. Like the brightest, the smartest people, the people with the common sense, people with real records. Look at their lives. Pete Hegseth, okay, this guy, the left is so stupid. They're just so dumb. The MSNBC, who's that Joy Reid person, that black lady? Like, she's got the cropped hair. Sometimes she's wearing a wig. I don't know what the hell's going on with her. What an idiot. What a complete and a bitch. Just a bitch on wheels, man. Who's this guy? Like a Fox News host? How about you do some research, moron? Moron. I mean, these people, they consider themselves journalists. And then they just lie because they don't take the time to research anything. Look that motherfucker up, man. There's the Sean Ryan show. Watch the interview with Pete Hegseth on the Sean Ryan show. I think they talked for 3 hours. I just watched it again the other day to make sure I was on the right page with him. He wrote a whole book on it, on how to deal with the military. He's a major. He is a major in the Army. He's like National Guard. He's been all over the world deployed in combat zones. The guy, he worked with a veteran, what's the word to put, it wasn't a company. But he did this thing with veterans to help them out. He's a great human being. He's got like 7 kids, this guy. Look at him. Looks like a friggin' supermodel god too. You know, like everything the left hates. But these people, Joy Reid, what a friggin' imbecile. Like the stuff that comes out of their mouths, and the only people who believe it are the people that are still watching them. And the people who are still watching them are friggin' stupid. They are voluntarily they're volunteering themselves to be brainwashed with stupid. It's their own friggin' choice. Blows my fucking mind, man. Because apparently, I think it's CNN, they lost a whole bunch of ratings. MSNBC, I think they want to sell it. A bunch of these people are going to be getting fired now. So we're going to see all this stuff changing as things go. But the fact that they're still doubling down on it and still just saying dumb things, it's easy to disprove it. It's easy. All you got to do is listen to the people. For them to say, that's like what they do with Trump all the time. He was a reality show star. Like if you're one of the, I don't think there's that many of you here anymore, but if you're one of those people and that's your thought of Trump, that's all he is or ever was, you don't understand what he did, the skyline he created over New York City, the buildings he built, the business he created. He might have businesses on every continent for all I know, but that man has employed tens of thousands of other human beings of all men and women of all shapes, sizes, and colors all over the planet, paying them, providing them with enough money to live their lives and put their kids through college and buy cars, do all the other things that rich people do for the rest of us. It's so crazy that people keep demonizing the rich and everything. It blows my mind because they don't understand economics. They don't understand how the world works. They just want to shit on everybody that's got more than they have. Or they've got it too, and they're trying to make you believe their bullshit so that you'll take a side by demonizing them. It's just insane. And I think we're over it now. I mean, I was over it a long time ago. More people are waking up to this fact. So it's insane. But I love seeing the people that Trump's putting in place now. It ain't like last time. Last time he didn't know anything coming in. Didn't know anybody he was going to be working with. He had to take the advice of a lot of people that gave him bad advice. We all saw it happen. It ain't going to happen this time. It's going to be interesting. And that the whole Elon thing and Vivek overseeing government as far as like, what's the term? They're basically going to go in there and clean house. People are going to get fired, man. It's going to be glorious. I just hope and pray that they're going to get rid of whole, complete bureaucracies that we don't need. And yes, including the Department of Education. We didn't have the Department of Education until like 1979, people. People were better educated before the Department of Education existed. Get rid of it. They are doing nothing but making our lives more complicated and programming the minds of your kids with bullshit. You know, you got this great kid you raise, you send them off to school. Next thing you know, they're coming home with a bunch of stupid shit in their head, man. It's crazy. So, yeah, this stuff needs to stop happening. This is the only chance we got. And remember what I said about term limits. You all need to be bringing this stuff up. You need to be finding memes about it, making your own memes about it, posting about it on social media. This needs to be a buzz in the minds of, I guess, the Republicans, right? They need to be hearing this from their constituents. That's what we want. That's what we want. That's what we want. Term limits, term limits, term limits, term limits. You better make this happen. Term limits. This has to be a mantra that we're all getting out there. Because in my opinion, that's one of the number one things. Because, again, I've said it before. These people get into office, they are beholden to the people who paid to put them in office, for one thing. They spend most of their time on the phone trying to raise money to be able to get through their next election cycle instead of doing their job. That needs to stop, you know. I don't know what the term limit should be. I'm not the expert. Maybe 10 years as a senator or a governor or whatever it is. I don't know. But president's only got 8 years, right? 2 terms. And he's got to get elected to the second term. So I think it's a little weird that these other people get to stay in forever. 50 years, 40 years, 50 years or more. And they become super wealthy. Yeah, there's no inside knowledge going on there. No. Nancy Pelosi, she's just a genius with the stock markets. Come on. It's just, I don't have to get into this. You guys know already. All right. All the underhand, the crony capitalism, the people and their families, the whole Biden thing. So much of this is going to come out. The corruption of the Bidens. Holy cow. I can't wait. Cannot wait for all this truth to come out. Because I said it after the election in one of my videos. Like, I don't think we should be like hitting them too hard or rubbing their nose into it too much. But every single time more information comes out now, and there's going to be more investigations, and more truth is going to come out, we should be bringing it up. But it's a way that you do it. You don't have to be mean-spirited about it. You don't have to go, you know, told you. You have to go, hey, there it is. There's nothing wrong with going, told you so. There it is. You believe that. Now you know it's a lie. How do you feel about that? Are you still going to believe? Are you still going to allow yourself to be attached to the emotional bullshit that was programmed into you with these lies? Because here's the truth now. You found out that's not a lie anymore. How do you feel now? You should feel betrayed. That should be enough for you to do a 180. Right? That's going to happen consistently over the next 40 years. It's going to be glorious. I did hear some tactical concerns. I think it was the Sean Ryan episode with Pete Hegseth. I think it was Hegseth that said it. He's like, you know, if Trump got this is before the election. This conversation it was like I think it's 2 months old. This interview, and he said if I was China or Russia or North Korea, and Trump got elected, I would attack right now because we're at our weakest right now with our military. We are overstretched. We got American assets over in Ukraine. We got warships over there. We got all kinds of things going over there that we would need here if one of those other guys went up against us. Interestingly, he thought, and he's a tactician, military, major, planned operations. He's a friggin' badass. He knows what he's talking about. He also said if Kamala would have gotten in, he said that it would have been smart for our enemies to wait another 4 years because every year we're getting progressively weaker under the Democrats. Remember, Trump rebuilt our military while he was in there. Thank God. So right now, I'm not a fear monger. I don't want you to be afraid. I don't want to say anything to make you afraid. I think fear is a waste of time in a way. It's like worrying. I think you should acknowledge it, but then use it to motivate yourself to be prepared for whatever it is you're fearful of. Sun Tzu, right? If you want peace, prepare for war. It's very simple. So, if something bad was going to kick off, it's going to happen now, between now and Trump getting elected. And it could be the day Trump gets elected, or, he's already been elected. You know what I'm saying? We take January 20th, or whenever that is, when he takes office. I think that's right. So be cautiously optimistic right now, but be prepared for crazy things to happen. You guys got to remember, tens of millions of people have crossed over our border. We don't know where they are or who they are. A lot of them are terrorists. So I have this funny thing, I think to myself sometimes. I wonder, I think you could do almost like do a show on it, or a movie, or a sitcom on it. The way you can be convinced into being a terrorist, if you're coming in from the Middle East and you're getting into Central America and then walking across the border, or any other shithole country, coming from, where you can be turned into a terrorist, be sent here, be part of a cell so that you can create war, havoc, take down the grid, all these things that we have to be cautious of. You're coming from a place, most likely a place where, like, you grew up with no electricity on a dirt floor, third world country. And maybe you've seen some movies, or some TV, and it's easy to be convinced that we're the big devil, and we got all the stuff that you don't have and everything else. And so, yeah, we got all the hate and everything else. And then you come over here, you get shipped over here, and you get down to Mexico eventually, and you walk into America, and you're here to do some mission. But then you get here and you look around, and you're like, wow, this is pretty interesting. And, it's that easy to make money. I can stand in front of a Home Depot and somebody's going to take me in their house, like, a pay a room or something, or going to give me $100 or $200 or whatever it is. Or you're doing it where you're taking advantage of what the government's giving immigrants right now, illegal immigrants, food stamps, place to live, all these things. You can't even get it as a citizen. And you realize, you out with a girl? You got to dinner? Like, nobody's keeping you from doing anything? That nobody cares what color your skin is. You can go anywhere you want in this country. Say whatever you want. Go wherever you want. Do whatever you want. Get laid. Eat a steak. All it takes is a little gumption and hard work, and I can make money? Like, I think that's enough to turn a gear in these people's heads where, like, once they get there, like, fuck that, I'm not blowing anything up. This is pretty good. You know what I'm saying? Like, no matter how brainwashed you could be over here, by the time you get here and you actually spend some time here and, like, you meet people, because it's not what the media portrays. We're not all enemies with one another, right? The average citizen in this country will help out a complete stranger. Absolutely. I was driving back from my camping trip in the summer, in July, 4th of July. 4th of July. I'm driving down. It was a 5-hour drive from up north. I went into, like, an AutoZone to get something. Guy comes in. He could be a scary looking dude to most people. I think he was a Hispanic guy, dark skin, pretty grungy looking, He had a bicycle with a flat tire, and he came in seeing if they sold bicycle tubes. Of course they didn't. But I said, hey, I got one for you. I had a brand new, still in the plastic, bicycle tube that would work on his bike. I knew what it was. And I gave it to him, went to the van. I said, stay here. Threw it to him. And he goes, oh, what do I owe you? I go, so you don't owe me anything, man. Just remember, you're in the greatest country on this planet, on its birthday. Happy 4th of July. He just looked at me kind of funny and he smiled, That's what you do. And that's what most people do. So I think that if you came here to this country with hate in your heart, intent on creating havoc for Americans, but then you get here and you actually spend time around Americans and realize how good the system is, really, for people who want to get out there and do something for themselves, I think that that would have a mind altering effect on you. I think it would be very easy for you to do a 180 and change your mind about what you really came here for. That's my hope. I'm more hopeful. I'm a hopeful person. I'm not such a cynical person. So with that, I'll leave you now. Okay. Now I'm going to end it. I just wanted to say all that, and I almost forgot. I would have kicked myself in the ass. It's hard to kick your own ass. You know, I'm pretty flexible, but you could give yourself a Charlie horse trying to kick yourself in your own ass. Go away now. Have a great day. Be kind to one another. I'll catch you in the next one. There'll be some fun stuff this week, I promise.